Today in the life of our community, we are also blessed to be celebrating today the cutting of the Vasilopita. This is a tradition that dates back to the life of Saint Basil the Great, which is where the Vasilopita takes its name. And I wanted to take a minute just to explain a little bit about this tradition for those of us who maybe are not familiar with it, or for those of us who have maybe forgotten the real reason why we do it. And that is because there was a real-life bishop many years ago, a great father of the church whose name was Saint Basil the Great. And he was the Archbishop of Caesarea in modern-day Turkey, Asia Minor. And he was a very just and righteous bishop, a very holy man, and he's a saint of the church now. But even at that time, he did many wonderful things in his life. For example, the modern-day hospital system that we have, really you can attribute its beginnings to Saint Basil, who did these things to the church. Orphanages, nursing homes for the elderly, like soup kitchens, things like this. It began in a very formal way in the church in Caesarea because of Saint Basil. In addition to the many theological texts that he wrote, his homilies that he's given and has passed on to us, as well as the liturgy that he wrote, the liturgy of Saint Basil, that we celebrate throughout the year for various feasts and during Great Lent. An amazing saint. Well, at one point, there was an evil king who was making his way through the countryside, and he made his way to Caesarea. And Caesarea was not a very wealthy place, it did not have a lot of wealthy people, but when the emperor arrived, he was expecting fanfare, he was expecting pomp and circumstance and gifts and all these like royal treatment. And when he got there, the offering was very poor. They didn't really have much to offer. And he was incensed, he was furious. And he vowed, he said, when I come back from this military campaign, I'm going to come and I'm going to burn Caesarea to the ground, unless you honor me appropriately. So obviously the people in Caesarea were very frightened. And St. Basil, being the hierarch there, was leading the people and said, whatever you have, whatever gold, whatever jewels, whatever coins, anything that you have, bring it, and we will collect everything. And when the king comes, we will offer it to him. And hopefully we can have his mercy so that he does not destroy the city and all of these inhabitants, all these faithful people. And in the meantime, we're going to pray for God's mercy and his help. And so they began praying fervently every day for a resolution to this horrible problem. So meanwhile, the king goes on to his military campaign, and he's killed during the military campaign. He dies. And so he never returns to Caesarea. And the people of Caesarea, hearing that they have been spared, gave glory to God and thanksgiving to him that his mercy and his love conquered the evil wishes of the emperor. The problem was now that all the gold and the coins and all the jewels and everything had been amassed and put into like a common vessel. And how were they to distribute once again everybody's coins and jewels and things like that? It would have been almost impossible. And so St. Basil instructed the people to make breads or cakes. And that in those breads they would place the treasures that the people had brought to save Caesarea from the evil king. And then they distributed these breads throughout the city to the different families. And in this way, the wealth and all the treasures that were collected were redistributed back to the faithful. The point I want to make about this story and why it's important, these kinds of traditions, why they're important. It's not because so that whoever gets the coin is lucky for the next year. We are a church, not a casino, okay, to see who gets the coin and who's going to be lucky for the next year, okay? We are a church. We give out blessings, okay? God blesses the faithful through the life of the church. And it's not dependent on who gets the coin. That's not why we do this. We do this because faith is passed on through stories. Faith is passed on very effectively through stories. And like I said, the story of St. Basil is one of faith and of God's mercy and love. And in this way, we remember the story, we tell it again and again, and we become participants in that story. Okay? And that's why every year around New Year's, because St. Basil's feast day is New Year's Day, we cut the Vasilopita as a way to honor him and to celebrate God's mercy and love. And just as he showed to the people of Caesarea and through St. Basil's prayers, but also as he's doing in our own community. And believe me, people's lives are being changed through the community of Saints Constantine and Helen, as well as all the Orthodox churches throughout the world. And so may God's mercy continue to shine down and rain upon us.